I have loved Garry's Mod since I was a kid. I made my Steam account when I was 9 to try and get the game, couldn't figure out how to properly get it at the time. Instead bought the orange box thinking I'd get the same experience of messing with the funny ragdoll physics. Was disappointed initially before unlocking my further infatuation with Valve's classics, and then finally at the age of 11 got the actual game of Gmod, quickly followed by Counter-Strike Source to make sure I had more of the textures I needed to play on more maps. As of the making of this video, I recently turned 26 and am still playing it, albeit for significantly different reasons from when I was a kid. When I was younger, I got into Gmod from watching the Gmod Idiot Box, Dazbashit's video series that is among some of the most famous machinima projects in Gmod's history. I had also been playing Left 4 Dead 2 on my dad's Xbox that we just got when the game released in 2009, and I was excited to see those characters appearing in Dazbashit's videos too. Seeing the ragdolls being posed and thrown around in different ways made me want to experiment with that too, mostly by using different guns to shoot them and see how they'd fall over. That is pretty morbid, but I was a kid. I wanted what I wanted back then, and there's still a part of me, and I think a lot of people, that appreciate seeing those funny ragdolls go flying from explosions and other methods of getting hit in games. Nowadays, I'm really growing into that mentality of appreciating the scenery and stopping to smell the flowers in immersive maps. But in between when I started and where I am now, I was into the RP scene. Let's rewind back to my middle school days, around 2012 to 2013.
Yeah, it's rewind time.
Most of my time coming home from school was spent playing Half-Life 2 RP on a server called Roleplay Tavern. I had a character that started as a Combine loyalist that eventually became a Metro officer and then a divisional leader higher-up type over the course of maybe a year or so. Early in his tenure as a grunt, he was ambushed by some rebel characters and had some of his fingers chopped off, leading him to become an avowed hunter of rebels from that point. It was a pretty tough-sounding backstory at the time, honestly. We took things a lot more seriously there compared to what you'd usually see on, say, dark RP servers. Things eventually broke down due to some community drama, but I still have several of the community members from there added to this day. Shouts out to Full Metal, one of the head admins from back then. He actually reached out to me again last year, and we occasionally keep in touch. I didn't really play much Dark RP ever, since it didn't really feel that immersive compared to Half-Life 2 RP, but I at least experimented with it a bit. That said, it wasn't really in the way you'd expect from most people that play that game mode. Most people tend to gravitate towards gun dealing, being a cop, or a criminal type like a thief, drug dealer, or hitman, but I wanted something outside of those established roles. Back when RP Evo City V2D was at the height of its popularity, that office building near the bank was what caught my attention more than anywhere else in the map. I wanted to work a day job in that office at a desk. I think oftentimes the mayor would be in that building in various servers back then, but it didn't matter to me what kind of entity was operating in there. I just wanted to be a part of it. Offices have always been a subject of high interest to me in games. What would it be like to work a boring, normal desk job in worlds of high action? What would it be like to work at, say, the Life Invader office on the daily in the world of GTA? I guess you might be able to do that now, potentially in 5M, although I haven't found myself with the time to commit to taking that plunge as a working adult with a real 9 to 5 now. I said this in a previous video, but while I'm not necessarily a fan of the constant work aspect, I love the vibes of offices and the feeling of feeling busy at a desk. I like the idea of having my own personalized office room and desk with little desk decorations and stuff. The hums and different sounds of offices entrance me. The plasticky sounds of desk phones, the click-clacking of keyboards, the hum of the ceiling lights, and even that added liminality that comes with versions of offices created in games. It all coalesces into a relaxing vibe that I've sought in the virtual world over the years. Today on this episode of Source Engine Tour, we're taking another dive into the mundane to find the perfect immersive office map. These videos are made to be equally watchable and listenable to help you relax. If you find these videos to be relaxing or to be a good audio aid while you play games or work yourself, consider supporting me on my new Patreon to help me make more content like this. I keep the prices fairly low currently so that you can either support me at just $1 a month, get access to a supporter channel in my Discord to get early video excerpt sneak peeks for as low as $5, or get full early access to new videos several days to a week early for as low as $8, either monthly or in one-time payments for specific videos. With that aside, sit back and grab your beverage of choice. If you don't have one available, maybe we'll find one in a vending machine along the way. One of these offices is bound to have one, or a few. You can't make an office-related Gmod video without taking a look at the classic. Like I said, the second game I ever bought on Steam just after Gmod was Counter-Strike Source, so I spent a lot of my formative years here shooting terrorists. This map also just makes a really good controlled variable to compare to with the other maps in this video. This is the established standard for what an office in the Source engine should be, and what future office maps would build upon in later years. For each map I check out in this video, I am using an unofficial set of criteria to judge them by in the form of some questions to be answered. 1. Is there an insulated workspace within the map where I can feel isolated from outside factors while I work independently? This will usually be in the form of a private office room as opposed to bullpen spaces. 2. Does the office feel lived in? Does the environmental storytelling give it a strong sense of personality? Is there an outdoor section to emphasize the insulation of the indoors? 3. How immersive is the sound design? It would need to be fairly quiet in the map, but have a nice ambience to it. Complete silence is too quiet, while a harsh hum throughout the entire map is too loud and lacks nuance. There needs to be a variation between different parts of the map if it's a big enough space. 4. Is there a lounge? How good are the amenities? These aren't necessarily going to shoehorn me into any one decision if one map meets multiple or all of the criteria on paper, but this will give a pretty good idea of the things that matter to me when I'm deciding if I like an office map or not. At the end of the day, my decision's going to come down to overall vibes. In CS Office, there is no real insulated personal office space for me to get that isolated feeling I crave in an office setting, since this is a map made with FPS gameplay in mind. What would the point of a small isolated office be other than for camping? Instead, we get a strange bullpen layout with unnaturally long hallways that you wouldn't see in a real-life office. But because of that, you also get this liminality aspect to it that I think plays a big part in the inspiration this map brings to creators making similar office spaces in Source. With the trade-off of that isolated room, in return you get all three of the other criteria to varying extents. First off, this office set the standard for a building that truly feels lived in. From the moment you enter the building, you have a bunch of demotivational posters, whiteboard diagrams from workers, scene-built desks with computers showing what's on workers' screens, and that projector in the back with its own nonsensical sense of humor. The sound design is also as professionally done as you would expect from Valve and Turtle Rock Studios. The soundscapes change frequently as you explore different rooms in the map. You have an overarching air ventilation sound throughout the entire building, but different rooms in the office have different sounds associated with the landmarks in each one.
Just received word of an ongoing hostage situation taking place in an office in the downtown area. A group of armed men took control of the office at gunpoint earlier today. Most of the employees escaped relatively unharmed during the initial chaos of the takeover, but 4 people are unaccounted for and have been verified to be hostages. The reason behind this terrorist action remains a mystery. With no end to the conflict in sight, authorization has been given for a SWAT team to enter the office and attempt a daring hostage rescue. In other news, the president has said today.
There's technically a lounge here if you can call it that. I often think of lounges either being a dedicated resting space or a combo of both a kitchen and sitting area in one, but in this case it's this small part of the hallway with a microwave next to some bathrooms. It's extremely bare bones with no real amenities other than that. You could argue the front office section of the map could be a lounge, but I'd say it feels a bit more like a waiting area or a basic lobby, given it only has just a few chairs and a table with little else. Before we leave CS Office to check out its followers, let's check out the outside portion. The snowy portion outside helps to accent the warm feeling of the building inside. The skybox, I think, is also something I think is slept on by most people who play this map. It's important to remember that this office is located in a downtown portion of the city. That much is established by the radio news story inside. I do really enjoy the contrast between this older brick building and the newer skyscrapers off in the distance, and it's crazy because despite the fact I've been playing this game for years, I only just now took the time to notice those buildings way out there.
I feel as if I have been standing my entire life and I just sat down.
This is GM Lily High-Rise Offices by Lily. By her own description, this is a CS office-styled map set in a tall building, so if the visuals weren't enough to say so, we get a good clue that this map was heavily inspired by the OG, albeit with its own fresh take on things. There may not be an accessible outdoor section in this map, but you do get a really good view of the buildings nearby as well as the street below from this high-up window, which I think makes for a great substitute. You also get a much more varied selection of workspaces in here, including some actual personal offices. Some of these are laid out in non-standard ways, but I think that adds to the charm with a bit more of that liminal flavor added in. I just wish you could close the doors to make the space your own. In addition, you have more bullpen spaces, a reception desk, a storage room, a significantly improved lounge room from CS Office's version, a bigger and fuller lobby, and enterable bathrooms to make those long hallways make more sense now that they're being fully utilized. I like the touch of adding that radio playing the Western music that I've heard countless times in both Counter-Strike and TTT. I associate that a lot with playing TTT's 67th Way back when I was younger. I also really like the touch of this second radio in the utility room in the corner playing Call on Me by Eric Prides, even if I can't play that audio in this video. It makes me feel like I'm playing the game in an earlier time. Overall, you get the same quality and variance in the soundscapes here as you got in CS Office, if not better. The place feels even more lived in to me than its predecessor, so I'd have to at least put this space up higher than it on my mental totem pole of office maps. Okay, if we're talking about the best office that's just a part of a real in-game level, like minus Gmod workshop stuff and just talking about office sections from full games, I think that title goes hands down to Infra's office in the beginning of the game. I feel like a dummy for not including Infra in my last video on Urbex. If it weren't for Gmod having so many maps, Infra would be the best Urbex game on Steam by far, since it has obscenely high quality maps and a focus on exploring crumbling infrastructure, hence its title. I had played the game for years before I made that video, but I guess my brain just farted. Let's say I work in the bullpen part of the office for this one. The soundscape is incredibly immersive here. You can hear other people clicking, you get the sound of the water running into the fish tank as well as the sound and even the visual of the clock ticking. And all of these cubicles themselves feel lived in with their own personalities. I even get a dual monitor set up at my desk. It's fucking awesome. If this is the quality of my cubicle, I might honestly be fine eschewing a personal office for this spot. It's that level of chill. As some bonuses, this office is definitely the most modern one we have on the list today, and it has an outstanding view outside. It has its own cafeteria down below and a lounge with an integrated sauna up above, since it's located in a fictional Scandinavian country. The elevator also works pretty well.
What the hell? Looks like someone forgot to pay the electricity bill.
Or at least it did at one point.
I guess I'll have to take the stairs.
Mark's office would be a great place to work too. It has the ambience, insulated feeling, and a really good L-shaped desk with a lot of space. I just wish you had the option to sit at the chair in game. I could hang out here for hours and have this on a separate monitor while I'm working on other stuff. Overall, just a really complete package of an office space in a game. I go back to Infra every so often just to hang out in here for a while. It's that good. We spawn next into the lobby of GM Lost Office by Sign and Mr. Nyson. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing those names. This map has some lore to it that you can see both on posters on the walls and in the workshop description itself. You can already see based on the outside windows that this office has become separated from its home dimension, and the workshop description says that this is due to a mishap caused from experiments in quantum teleportation by the Sky Mega Company that plunged the world into chaos and left the player as potentially the only person left in space and time. What this map lacks in a consistent ambience and accessible exterior, it makes up for with its lore establishing complete isolation, physics-defying rooms, and a truly kick-ass lounge room. Not only do you have a fully stocked kitchen next door with pizza, a coffee machine, multiple tables, and a bookshelf, you also have a vending machine, a radio, a high-definition corkboard to read, a free copy of WinRAR, and a PlayStation 2. If it weren't for the, pushing the ethical limits of science and getting lost in a dimensional rift, I'd say this would be a pretty sweet spot to work in since the company seemed to be doing well enough to give its workers some thoughtful amenities. As far as personal workspaces go, I'd have to say the boss's office suits me just fine. I can close the door behind me, I have a comfy chair, the keyboard, the office phone, I got it all. I'm just missing that ambience to go with it. It's totally silent in here. It comes so close to perfection. If only it just went that extra mile to bring it all together, this would be the ideal working space. Another really good workspace contender on this map comes in a set of 3 in this almost punitively isolated room. There are 3 desks, all separated by floor-to-ceiling rows of filing cabinets to potentially prevent communication. Despite that, I do get that feeling of the space being my own here, where it's just me and the workspace in front of me. The only potential problem here is the ghost-like echoing whispers that might drive some people to insanity. You know, Minor nitpick.
Claudia's grandmother cooks in the East Wing cafeteria. A desire for social interaction, physical contact, affection, or support may lead you to make poor judgments and decisions in multiple areas. Persistence may be labeled as obsession if you indulge impulses to objectify the subject. Also be mindful of psychological projection.
In the basement are a few more cool spots. Let's check out this high clearance conference room. Is this good? I think things are going pretty good. I've made it inside. This is GM Office Maze Remake by Panman and the Fun. Upon entering, I'm greeted by the quiet sound of the ventilation, as well as the projector going in the door to my right. The vending machine also has its own piece to say, as does the elevator. Well, not so much to say from Boss Man over here. I guess in the meantime I'll not be helping myself to some Breen's piss. The initial look at the space in this office makes it feel like it could be utilizing a lot more of the space, but that's not really a complaint so much as it's just an observation about the map. I'll say with this perfect level of quiet in here, I feel more like I'm in an isolated dimension in this map that has snow outside than I did when I was in that Lost Office map just earlier. The sounds do that much to carry the vibe of a map forward. think this quiet ventilation sound might be among the most relaxing I've heard in any map, legitimately. I think I recall hearing it in the Cabin in the Woods map from a couple videos ago and getting a similar feeling. It just always makes me feel relaxed. The only knock I'd give on this map is, again, it lacks that real personal space to work in. I think out of the few we checked out today, I'd have to say the best office section I saw wasn't even in Gmod. It was the office space in Infra, which not only met all the criteria, but also had some great vibes of its own, particularly with its insanely well done skybox work. I would say it also just has the best personal workspaces to be in, both in the form of Mark's office and the cubicle section at the start of the map. That said, several of the other maps have some great vibes too. This map in particular has some extremely cozy vibes in itself. I guess what I'm realizing though is, despite the sheer amount of stuff lying around here that fills the space, it doesn't feel very lived in at all. This office feels like a caricature of the other office spaces we've seen, and of office spaces in general. And truly, is that not the epitome of what liminality is in a space like this? We've seen it in Kane Parsons' Backrooms rendition, where the space has a mind of its own and recalls the past so frequently that it starts to lose grasp of the finer details, and the space becomes a parody of itself. You can see it all around here. The placement of the meeting table, filing cabinets placed in ways they never would be placed in real life, security cameras being everywhere in here despite them not really making sense being in a regular office space like this, and this out-of-place foreboding door surrounded by brick walls just off to the side in this hallway. What is this doing here?
I can say you forgot to look at some of these spectacular workplaces. How could you miss the security office just outside? I think it's the best spot of all of them. It's quiet, and it's dark outside, and it's even got opposite desks for friends to sit at while they work. It even has a fan, and it even has a radio to listen to music to with your friend, and it'd just be you and your friend, and nothing outside these windows in the dark. I wish I had a friend to co-work with here. I could have had a friend to co-work with here, but he's not here right now. Oh, this one's fun too. You could share the cube here with a friend. If he didn't always try to go places he didn't belong. What a fun concept! Now this one is a bit messy, but I think it has its own quiet charm. I like to keep an eye on things from here. You never know what kind of lowlifes you'll catch crawling into your web this late at night.